I'm wearing the same thing I wore yesterday because, I went to bed wearing the same thing I wore yesterday, and then I woke up wearing the same thing I wore yesterday. So I've been wearing the same outfit for 2 days, and I feel like that's good for the environment, right? Like Mother Earth, that's what we're all about right now, right? Limiting my use of clothing, limiting my wash. All right, let's get this human being versus human doing yoga class started. So I want to talk a little bit about the power of calm and also the importance of having moments where you're not calm and getting that out of your system. In the past few years, have had the rug pulled out from underneath me in pretty dramatic ways where I thought I lived in a world with certain possibilities and, someone that, I loved very much turned out to not be who I thought they were. And I've been banned from Australia for having the wrong paperwork. I have been where I was put in a detention center and locked away with no access to the outside world for an extended period of time. It was super scary. And a few other things that, interacting with security officials at the highest level in the airport in the Middle East. And what I've learned in each time, which I feel like has prepared me for this massive shift for everyone, where we thought we lived in one world with a certain level of security and trust in our jobs or in our community, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, that world is not permanent, and like, what is this new reality where like the things that I'm used to or the people that I love the most are behaving differently? How do I navigate these waters? And I will say that one of the most important things to begin to practice doing is knowing that you are held, you will be taken care of, and you don't need to understand how. The being of the mindset that my world isn't falling apart, but it's just changing and you will adapt. That's what we have to do right now. The world is different and we're humans. We're going to have to adapt. And yes, it's hard and it's scary, but this is life. And it's important to practice redirecting our attention to the things when you have the capacity to all of the miracles that are around you all the time. That is all the people doing these live events. That is the fact that you are still breathing clearly, that you have access to food and water and your cell phone. And we live in a world of so much abundance, so much abundance, but we haven't seen it. And hopefully this helps us wake up to all that's around us. We can choose to go down the path of freaking out. And I know for myself, I needed to have those moments when I first encountered these experiences where the reality I lived in wasn't actually going to be the world I lived in anymore. And in those moments, we release our emotions, we cry, however you experience it is fine. But I think it's important to hold on to a grain of truth deep inside of you that knows that like your mind is taking you on that ride because your mind is unfamiliar with this new world. But inside of you, your spirit is aligned with the greater forces that transcend your intellectual understanding, transcend the scientist's intellectual understanding. We little humans are not the ultimate God. Perhaps in some ways we are, but ultimately our intellect is not going to be able to hold and compartmentalize everything that's happening around us. And so the best that we can hope for is that we meet each moment, perhaps set an intention of appreciation, love, and acceptance. When our mind gets scattered and scared, we tend to see things, we tend to perceive information coming our way that reflects our mindset. So I remember when I faced a really traumatic betrayal, it was really hard for me to make friends afterwards. I would read, into the way people treated me, or I just assumed that like people were out to get me. I was protective of my phone. I had a new color in the way I saw the world that was damaged. And the practice of reintegrating and learning that like people are good, and we can begin to trust each other again. That and also learning that, right now we're having a freaky weird experience. Okay? This is not the world forever. This is going to change the world in certain ways for forever, but it could be, in some ways, something that's a welcome change. Destruction is part of the creative process. And a lot of us are going to have our egos destroyed in many ways. And I see right now someone saying, unfortunately, most countrymen do not comply. So if you're living in a place where you're feeling frustrated with your community, I understand that. At the same time, you have to choose how you're going to allocate your energy. Are you going to spend your time feeling angry and choosing to shame people who are not really your responsibility, unless you're in the legal field, or feel that this is your role? But if it's not, I recommend redirecting consciously your attention on the ways that you can support and benefit people, and let those who are on a different path kind of fade into nothingness. I understand the urge to want to swoop in and help. I have lived most of my life that way. I grew up in New York with like that whole, American stand up for what you believe in, and, if someone's doing wrong, you gotta like speak out against it. But I have certainly learned as a yogi, it's my role more than others to really pick my battles and choose what I want to magnify with my intention. The more we pay attention to something, the more it grows. That being said, repressed emotions also exercise a certain amount of energy, and keeping those emotions suppressed is this constant battle that will go on inside of you and is toxic. And so the practice is navigating between feeling what comes up. And for me, actually, things that have come up in the past few years as I've dealt with my little traumas, is I've realized they're not even necessarily things that I have cultivated entirely myself in this world. These are karmas that I inherited just in some ways by being born into my family, by living in a society that I chose to agree with. And the more that I went within and found my own values, the most outstanding of which is continuously giving the other the benefit of the doubt. I really believe from the bottom of my soul that the outer world is a mirror of our inner world. And if you're looking out at the world and you're seeing a lot of problems, it may be helpful to start to see why your attention focuses on what's wrong. Because there are an infinite number of beautiful miracles that are happening every single second of every day. The fact that each of us is even born is miraculous. The amount of things that had to go right for you to make it from conception to birth to let alone however old you are, it is insane. The amount of things that had to happen for me to be sitting at this table, to be holding this cup, to have the English language, to the fact that like everybody else here can speak. The world is miraculous beyond human comprehension. And as humans, we are addicted to finding out what is wrong with things. And while there are certain things that have to be dealt with, the fact that they're bad is a label. We can choose to decide, like, the universe is making me right now, I'm being put in a position where I'm going to have less income. I have to downsize. Okay. The more that we can soften our resistance to what comes our way, the more we open ourselves up to a level of easeful living, and the more we invite in energy of that similar vibration. I have been keeping up with Deepak Chopra's philosophies and Joe Dispenza's philosophies about the quantum field. Limitless, exactly. And a lot of it is about tapping into infinite potential in any moment. And that is a subject that I think is a lot of hard for people to wrap their heads around because of social conditioning. And I think also in some ways it puts the responsibility back on you. And that is something that some of us don't want. We want to blame humans. We want to blame, I don't know what it is we want to blame, but we prefer to decide that the reason why things are happening isn't a reflection of who we are personally. It's a reflection of something else. But I will say, if you choose to embark, from my personal experience, on the journey of everything is happening for me, not to me, and choose to say yes to that which comes your way, sit with the negative emotions or the feeling of shame or guilt if that comes up, and then practice, go through the process of forgiving yourself, of forgiving others. The more we can practice forgiving each other and letting go of the past, and embarking from a unified front into this new reality, the more harmony we can create in this world. It's not about controlling others. It's about creating a space for others where their guards are put down and they can be invited into a new way of living. I know in my most intimate relationships, if I choose to shame someone for their bad behavior, if I want to yell at someone, it doesn't really actually help things move forward. If anything, if I am right, I could get my way for a moment, but it plants a seed of shame or blame, and that seed is going to express itself in one way or another. But if I practice knowing, even if I think I'm right, surrendering my ego, and instead of pointing that out, being patient, listening to another person's perspective, and redirecting their path in a way that saves them from feelings of embarrassment or shame, then all of us can move forward in a way that is more cohesive and peaceful. I don't think it's useful to blame anyone for very much moving forward. I really believe that it's a practice of accepting the reality that's in front of us and figuring out, if we need to steer the boat a little bit, how to do so in the way that's the most compassionate and loving to everyone around you. What this path requires is an infinite amount of patience. Patience, giving people the benefit of the doubt, figuring out how to better express yourself. Patience. I had a friend call me the other day. She was caught in the middle of a dispute between two parties, and both parties felt that they were right, and she wanted to figure out how to move forward. And my advice was essentially how to make the people feel valued and important, so that they can understand that it's time to move forward, but not do so in a way where they feel shamed or actually just shamed or embarrassed. So what people want more than anything is attention and love. And if you can give that to one another, then you dissolve everything else. And sometimes doing that for certain people requires a lot of patience. And so the good thing about being in lockdown, you put your phone down, just choose not to pick it up for a while, and say, bye-bye, outside world. Bye-bye, outside world. I'm not going to talk to you right now. Honestly, for me, I am one of the greatest people lovers. I have spent the past 7 years traveling the world, surrounding myself with people, learning about people. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think I realized how sick of them I was. I love humans more than anything, but people love to complain, and I just don't need that right now. And so myself being in a role of having to constantly help others return to their center of appreciation for being alive, getting to have this human experience, which the people that I meet, everyone who does yoga, I mean, all of us are extremely blessed. I know that there are situations for many people that are very different, and I hope to meet them someday and bring them some light as well. But I'm in a position where I pretty much only interact with people who are living with a baseline of miraculous, infinite things to be grateful for. And I'm just tired of carrying that weight for a little while. And so I am laying on my couch, and I am closing my eyes, and I'm feeling my breath, and I'm feeling my body, and I'm just being grateful for very simple things right now. I feel like I have taken my voice and my lungs and my eyes and my hands for granted for a long time. And so my practice right now is really going in and feeling how incredible my body is. And I'm looking at the sky, and I'm looking at the mountains, and remembering like how much bigger and wiser Mother Earth is than my little human brain. And I practice surrender over and over and over again. And that's what's bringing me peace. And when, if you need to have a breakdown or a freak out, I recommend not pushing away those feelings, but becoming acquainted with them. Like I mentioned earlier, resistance, it's this counter pressure that's always going to be inside of you. But if you're like, I'm very afraid right now, and you just breathe in the fear, feel where it is in your body. And as I mentioned earlier, most people, most entities simply need acknowledgement and love. And by simply saying like, I feel you, fear. Oh, I feel you. Let it wash over you, and then it will move through you. That's how I'm dealing right now. That's how I recommend a lot of you do. And I'll be doing more playful classes. I recommend also taking time to laugh. Like, find the stupidest things to laugh about. Humor is a great perspective bringer. I'm fortunate to be married to like the biggest clown, and my cat right here is also just like such a weirdo. So those things are also very helpful. And when you notice that yourself, or that you are thinking of the future, if you can't help it, go ahead, play those games. Allow your mind to say, like, I'm not going to have any money, da-da-da-da-da, what do I do? You can go on loops until you're exhausted. So today marks 2 weeks since I was in Bali and Malaysia. So I think that means that I'm COVID-free. And what I did on my last flight back from, my first flight from Malaysia to Japan, I just like had a fight with two people in my mind for like 7 hours laying down on the plane. And then by the time I got to Japan, like I didn't even need to talk to them anymore. For some reason, something inside of me just needed to worry and freak out about this stuff for a little while, and I had lots of justifiable reasons. But then by the time I got there, they weren't there anymore. So maybe one tool is like you just have to let your worry run its course. Worry, worry, worry. Do whatever you got to do, but continue to have that seed inside of you. I know I was in Bali and I was in Malaysia. I taught a workshop in Malaysia. Someone said Bali is in Indonesia, not Malaysia. Yeah, I taught a workshop in Malaysia 3 weeks ago now, and then I went to Bali for fun, and then I flew through Malaysia from Bali to Japan, and then Japan to the US. Anyway, 2 weeks ago, I think I'm okay. I feel really good. Another way so I had more stretching to take away stress. If you are in a place where you're freaking out and you want to not anymore, breathe deep. That's what I have been really connecting to. This disease, one of the things it does is, I don't even want to put the image in your head of what it does to your lungs, but I think that by being at home, laying down or sitting up, whichever you prefer, and even if you can't stay for, longer than 5 minutes, take 5 minutes at a time. I've been putting Tibetan gong sounds from YouTube in my ears, and I breathe into my lungs, and you can feel different compartments of your lungs. I also like to feel my throat. I like to breathe into my mind and just connect. I think it's very interesting that this disease is attacking a part of the body that we, I think, take for granted the most. Our lungs breathe us. They exchange energy with everything in the universe. They keep us alive. They don't ask us to do anything. We don't need to pay attention. They do all of this for us every single second of every day. Maybe we just need to acknowledge them. Same way we said humans need a little bit of acknowledgement. Maybe our lungs, they just need us to say, thank you, I love you. All right, so that's my spiritual spiel on all of this. I think that sound bath therapy, I've actually found increasingly for myself, I used to like words to my meditations, guided meditations. Now I'm increasingly liking just vibration. I think it's all about the vibe. If you guys are from different countries, because I'm seeing like come to Korea, come to Iran, I'm actually not afraid of travel. Maybe not right now, obviously. When the flow feels right, I want to go everywhere. I want to see everyone, and I want to learn all of your stories, and I want to grow, and I want to be bigger, and I want to connect. So if you feel that you'd love to have me there, find a local yoga community, talk to someone that you feel can host me, and I am happy to be there. One of my favorite things, and one of the ways I learned so much as a yoga teacher, is not by being as directive, but more receptive. So one of my pillars as a teacher when I come into new communities is to first see and understand what yoga means here. For instance, in Asia, yoga there is a spiritual component to it, and it's also very physical, very, very physical. They're a physically talented community who is willing to put in a ton of hours of work, and so we push it physically. That's just the build. Malaysians and Indonesians like crazy. When I go to the Middle East, yoga's a bit different. Yoga is more spiritual in an overt way, simply because everything is in service to Allah in many ways, to the countries that I've been to. And so there is this awareness that's more on the surface of how we're using this practice to better connect with ourselves and our community and with God. And as a teacher, I don't feel that it's my place to tell a community what they should want to learn. It's my place to more observe, what is the calling in the heart. I believe passion, desire, that is a community's North Star that I am there to serve. And so I love going to new communities and learning about, okay, so in Colorado, where I live now, like, what is this yoga thing about? And for here, it's about, in a lot of ways, slowing down the pace and relaxing, feeling strong enough. In certain areas, they're more physically ambitious, but it's more of a mental, like, de-stress kind of process that I think the students thirst for more than anything else. And in doing so, I get more stimulated as a teacher because I don't get to follow a script. I have to figure out in present moment time how to be present with the student's vibe and how to serve it. And that makes me present and it makes me feel fulfilled because I get to connect in new, interesting, and fresh ways with communities. So if that sounds like something that you'd love to have in your community, I would be honored to be there for you all. So yeah, I love you guys. I'm so excited to have this time to connect virtually with global yogis that we align on that vibe. I'm constantly looking to meet more yoga teachers, the light warriors, those who have had the luxury of going in for the past however many years, learning about their breath and their body and the natural flow of things and building more strength and power in the voice of yoga teachers, because the world is going to need you and it's time to step up. We don't get to have our freakouts publicly anymore. We have to be the ones that are, I believe, calm and centered and have that root inside of us always there. I, at this point in my life, feel so aligned with the flow of things. And those of you who are starting to wake up to that feeling, you are to be the most patient pillar of strength. You are to listen to those who are afraid. You are to listen without having a need to respond unless people are ready to shift. Otherwise, similar to what I was describing when I meet new yoga communities, one of the best ways to serve people is to simply listen and figure out how to serve what they need. So instead of saying, well, this is what I did and you should do it this way, being vulnerable enough to really listen and figure out person by person how to hold the space for them to have their experience and how to move beyond it. The world needs you. All right, so it's time to step up. I believe in you, and I think the world is going to need a lot more people who have a level of calm and clarity, who are not allowing the old way of doing things to cloud their vision for how we can engage in a new future and a new tomorrow that is more beautiful and brighter despite what fear and terror people may be undergoing today. Okay, let me see if there are any questions. Dzień dobry. I'm Polish, by the way, so I saw some I think it was Polish writing. My mom would be so proud. You guys, this community of you from all over the world, I'm so inspired. And I can't wait. If you have any feedback for me, any personal experiences, please share, because I am eager to learn, okay? You take care of yourselves, as I know you will. I'm not even going to say stay safe. You are safe. You are safe. I love you.